afternoon, Canberra, and welcome back to On the Right Track. It's your host, as always, Maggie Wright. Today we're going to talk some basketball and some rugby basketball, which is a weird, wacky sport of the day. We've got Laura and Vincent in the studio today. How are we, guys?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, pretty good. I'm good. It's great to be back in the chair again. I love it. It's actually a stool, but chair nonetheless. So, basketball, as we were talking about just before we recorded, I think the only real things I know about basketball is LeBron James and all the movies. I think that's about it. So High School Musical will be mentioned today, probably several times in reference to things. So basic rules.
Well, contrary to High School Musical, basketball is not played with musical numbers.
Lost interest. No.
The premise is very simple. Get the ball in the hoop more than the other team before the clock runs out. And it's a semi-contact sport, so you can bump around quite a fair bit, but it's not going to be anything near as heavy as rugby. Though that's why rugby basketball's a thing, I assume.
Yeah. There you go. So I know there's a 3-point line. It looks a bit like a goal, I think. Yeah. Big circle. Yep. There's so many other lines on a basketball court.
Yeah.
So there's like the key line, which is like when you're in the key, if you're in there for like more than 5 seconds, you have to get out or it's the other team's ball. And actually kind of came along because Shaquille O'Neal was just so good during his day. Like he kept just putting back to basket and just absolutely muscling these people that they had to put like a 5-second rule in. And they also had to put a new backboard in because he kept like breaking it.
I was about to say, do you know how tall he is? Like, I don't know how tall. I just know he's very tall.
Like 6'7", something like that. Yeah.
More. Right. It's an interesting sport. I mean, it's been around for, a couple hundred years when it was literally a peach basket. That was what it was, right? Every time you scored, you'd have to get a ladder and go get the ball back out.
Oh.
Right? And then someone made the innovation to cut a hole in the bottom. And then from there, they made boundary lines. And then from there, they got like the key line of what Laura's talking about. So a 3-point line. Like when Michael Jordan played in college, there wasn't a 3-point line, right? There's like a really famous shot, actually. Some guy in the NBA finals in the 60s shot a full court shot to tie the game, and his team survived. Jerry West, he's the logo of the NBA, you know, that classic guy.
Yep.
That's him about to shoot that shot. Now, if he had done that in the 3-point era, he would have won his team the championship with like some 60-foot heave, which is insane. So it's an evolving sport, which is one of the fun things about it.
Did you know if he went on to win that game?
I believe they won that series.
Oh, good. Good to hear.
They won that game. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the key used to be like an actual key because like right now it's like pretty big. It's like a square thing.
Oh, it's a square.
It used to be square. It used to be like this tiny little sliver with like a key looking thing. That's why it's called the key.
Oh, right.
Like the circle at the top and then like just like this tiny line down the middle. Not as big as it used to.
I was about to say that makes sense why it's called a key because that was my next question.
I read your mind.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So you get your half court line. Is there any other lines you can't throw over or anything, or you can just throw it as far as you like?
Yeah, unlike netball, you can pretty much throw it wherever you like. There's a line in the middle of the court called like the half court line, right? Once you cross that into your side of the court, you can't go back over. So that's one thing. But apart from that, it's pretty much free reign. I know one time I played netball and I didn't know that was a thing, so I just full on pelted the ball down the court because I thought someone was open, and I got a whistle. I was like, "What the heck, ref?" Right? And then she just told me that this isn't basketball, and fair enough.
I've seen. I think it's a gimmick that the NBL does or NBA.
Oh,
We'll definitely talk about the differences in those because I got no idea as well. But like win $50,000 if you get a shot from half court. And I think it was the Bulls who didn't pay one guy.
Yeah.
And then one of the major guys was like, nah, you're paying him.
I think it was Michael Jordan paid out of his own pocket from what I heard. Like the organization didn't actually pay him. He was like, you guys, there was like some sort of clause in it that the organization, they didn't have to pay. So the Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure, paid out of his like own pocket. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was like just one of the players was like, hey, I'll pay you. Something like that.
I'm glad they got good players then hanging out there.
Well,
I
they
would
got
have
a
been
lot
so
of money.
mad. Yeah. So, yep, so there's the lines. You got the outside line. I know there's several different games I've played basketball-wise, like Stop and Golden Child. I'm sure that's a throwback to all the primary schools out there. Did you guys do you still play those kind of games in training, or what's training looking like for you guys?
Well, at different levels, you're going to have different types of trainings. And that's part of what I love about basketball. It's like you can play at any level, and it's fine, right? Some sports, there's a high barrier to entry about just knowing the rules, the ins and outs, right? But basketball, the premise is simple, right? Just get the ball in the hoop, right? So at a junior level, for maybe younger people and new players, we might play those games. But at the higher levels, we're practicing stuff like where your feet should be on certain possessions and that type of stuff. Because when you're attacking certain players, you want to go at them and utilize angles, because that's what the game gets at a higher level. It's finding the perfect angle on this little square court. So that's probably the difference. So I wouldn't say we play those games as much. Maybe we should. What do
We
you think?
played on the rack.
Oh, we did play
on the
rack.
rack last night at training, which is like a 3-point kind of game, and it's like you all stand around the 3-point line, and then if the person before you makes the 3-point shot, there's one on the rack, and then it keeps on going. So say the next person makes, so that's 2 on the rack, and then if the next person misses, they lose 2 lives. So so then you get 3 lives in total. So you want to be making shots, and you don't want the person next to you be making shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get them out.
Putting down your teammates. Grr.
Yeah. It does get we're a quite competitive team, so it does get quite intense sometimes.
So positions, I think we'll go from here. You guys play for ANU basketball, or is there a different name for your team? Do you have like a mascot?
That's right. We are the ANU Owls. Hoot hoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're the Owls here at UCFM, so...
I think we did it first, so...
Oh.
Excuse me. No. Whose studio are we in? No, yeah. Awesome. So, for the Owls, what positions do you guys play?
Yeah, so on like a basketball court, there's 5 players, obviously, and there's positions 1 through 5. And so 1 is usually that kind of goes like height-wise, and 1's usually also the point guard, and they're usually the smallest. So they're usually in charge of like bringing the ball up the court and such, and like they're usually pretty quick and fast. And then 2 and 3 would be people that kind of hang out on the wings. So there's like a shooting guard, and then
a small forward.
And a small forward, and then the shooting guard is the 2, and they're obviously probably the best shooter on the team, but they can also help bring the ball up. And then like the 3 and 4, they're usually kind of like bigger people. And then like once you get to like the 5, they're the person that's like the biggest on the team, and they just like sit themselves in the post in like the key. So everyone else is kind of on like the outside, depending on the offense. And then like the 5 will go and like sit in the post and just like muscle their way through. Like around
righto.
that,
So Shaq would have been a 5.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shaq's a 5.
Okay, great. Okay. For anyone visualising that, I was as well. I was figuring out who's who. So the 3's called a small forward, even though they're very tall.
Yep.
Yeah, they're fun names. I think they're much more fluid now when they were in the old days. Like in the old days, it was very much just like get your ball into the 5, which is also known as like the big, and they're just gonna like do their work. It wasn't much like ball movement, but now it's like 3-point games where you have like Joel Embiid, who's however tall, shooting 3-pointers. So like it's just really changed so much. Like the big guys not even in the post anymore; they're out in the 3-point line.
Yeah. After the addition of that, that's fair enough. Honestly, more points. So how does it work out skill level wise? How do you guys segment those in the ACT?
I think Laura knows more about this than I do. She grew up here.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Got a Canberra local on it.
Yeah. So basically there's kind of like the club level, which is like anyone can kind of come along and play. There's like social leagues. Obviously there's like various social leagues throughout Canberra you can just join in on. But there's like the main basketball ACT like social league, and then it kind of gets to like the JPL league, which is like that's the junior Premier League teams, which is like and then it goes like Div 1, Div 2. And then once you hit senior, there's like the top like club kind of thing would be senior Premier League. So we have like the Premier League Division 1, which is Prem 1, and then Prem 2, and then kind of go down to like A grade, which is just like obviously the social leagues. But like Prem's like open, and then there's like obviously under 19s, JPL and such. And then like within Canberra, that we also have like the ACT teams. So like I think it starts like under 14s, and then like under 16s they go off to nationals and you verse other state teams. And then in Canberra, like once you hit like the last one's under 20s. And then kind of we also have an Opens Women's League, which is actually coached by Kirsten Veal, which she's the head of the Capitals, which is the Canberra
awesome.
NBL1 team. This is for the women at least. The men are coached by Peter Herrick. And then, so that's kind of like a feeder thing. So it's in the NBL1 competition, which in Australia, there's I think like around 5-6 different areas. So we're in the NBL1 East. So we verse all the New South Wales teams, and there's like NBL1 South, which is like I think like Adelaide and like Victoria and such, and then they all verse each other. And then like if you win your comp, you go and like you verse all the different areas, and then like it goes NBL1 and WNBL, which is like probably the top competition in Canberra. I mean in Australia, sorry. And then obviously then the WNBL, which is all the way in America, which is a pretty good league. And then obviously the other leagues around the world.
Yeah, because I've met the Caps girls. They're quite nice. Yeah, they're really lovely. I used to serve them food when I worked for UCX. Oh, yeah, got a couple of Americans floating around too. They're all lovely people. Mm-hmm. So where, if you don't mind me asking, whereabouts are you guys sitting in the rankings of everything? Like, which div are you guys playing?
So Laura here is in Prem 1. And I believe she also plays on a few of those other teams she was talking about. And I coach the Prem 2 women's.
Oh, so we got a coach in the house.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I play in one of those social leagues that Laura talks about. So our men's and our women's, it's a bit varied. Our men's this year looking pretty good. They're off 1-1. It's only been 2 rounds, but it was a very promising first game that they lost, unfortunately, at the end. We had our top scorer, Ted Ferguson, drop 20 points in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth, so yeah, set up into quarters. Is it 15 minutes?
So it's the rules that we play is 10-minute quarters. So
20 points in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah.
4 10-minute quarters, and you get a nice little halftime break. So yeah, he popped off, and then the next game we won against the Belconnen Ramblers, which was a nice win for the team. Prem 2 is 1-1 as well. Last week they took down Tuggeranong Southern Cross. That game went down to the wire as well, but we just executed better than them. So that went well. Prem 2, we've got a lot of rookies on the team. So we're off to a bit of a slower start, but it's shaping up to be a good season, I think, ahead. Prem 1, we've got a lot of veterans, and I think Laura's she's a rookie on our team, actually, but we've got a lot of veterans on that team as well.
Yeah, I just moved across from another club to come play with ANU because obviously I play I go to the university and such.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of my friends are on the team, so I was like, oh, might as well come across, you know. And then I did the full commit and then decided to do the social media as well. So yeah, there's that. But the women's team, a bunch of us are currently injured at the moment. Like a bunch of our starting 5.
Oh, bugger.
I tore my ankle muscle a couple of weeks ago. And then one of our other starters, she got her wisdom teeth out, so she hasn't been able to play.
Yeah.
So we haven't had our full team yet, but it's only been 2 rounds. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll get everyone back. And then I know, because a lot of the girls do go to America. Yeah, hopefully one of the girls that was on the team last year, she went to America. Hopefully she comes back she's coming back in May. Hopefully she comes play for us. She's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm hoping she goes well over there.
Yeah.
But we'd have her back here.
Yeah.
How's your ankle looking? What's coming back to basketball looking like for you? Is it soon or is it a far away kind of thing?
Hopefully it is pretty soon. I'm thinking maybe like 1 to 2 weeks. Obviously it was like about 4 weeks ago. It was actually not that ANU training, but another team's training. I stepped on one of the girls' foot. Yeah, and then
friendly fire. So
friendly fire, and I have terrible ankles. I played netball and they're just absolutely destroyed. It's like my 7th time doing it, and then I had to go to the physio and then do all my exercises and stuff, which I just had to do like an intervention for, because she works at the physio that I go to. And I'm not very good with the exercises, unfortunately. She had to do stage an intervention. She's like, you were doing them this time. We have to get those ankles stronger. So I've been trying to get back as much as possible. You know, really, because the NBL1 season has just started. So really want to try and get back into that one. You know, because it's exciting. And then our season will start pretty soon, which is like the academy team, which is just below the NBL 1. So they're like so it goes like NBL 1, like the youth league, and then like in between that's the Waratah League, which is what the academy team's in. Yeah, so hopefully getting back before that season starts.
Yeah, righto. Well, yeah, sounds like a good plan. So in the break, we were just having a little chat about some of the leagues going on in Australia, the big leagues. Jack Jumpers was a word I heard. I'm pretty sure they won something recently.
Yeah, so big win for Tasmania. The Jack Jumpers won the NBL championship, taking down the team from Sydney, and it was a very
It's Melbourne, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
because it's got
point.
Delhi and
Vedova.
Melbourne United. Yeah.
All right.
Melbourne United.
Yeah, they've won a couple. Melbourne United won a couple before, and this is their first Jack Jumpers win, I think, in the history of the NBL 1. NBL 1, sorry.
They're a new team, established 5 years ago, and they've been to the finals once, but they finally won this time. And the way it works, it's the best of 5 games. And I believe they came back from down 2-1 or something like that.
I wasn't really following, unfortunately.
Anyway.
I did
Very
see a
dramatic.
couple highlight videos online, and there was very close games with some buzzer beaters going on.
Exactly. There were some buzzer beaters. I could be promulgating misinformation.
So buzzer beaters is like throwing a ball and then the buzzer goes and it goes in.
Yeah.
Just like all those movies where like Space Jam where Michael Jordan's arm just gets longer.
Yeah, that one. But like in like
That's
the
the
final seconds,
Okay.
like down the court, I think like Jack McVeigh turns around like 3-pointer, final seconds to go and wins the game for them is what I watched online. So
insane.
yeah.
Kept their season alive for them to win the whole thing at the end against the favourites. I think they were the
underdogs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do we have an ACT team for the NBL?
Not in the men's league, but in the women's league we do. We have a pretty good team, I would say. Unfortunately, I don't think we made the finals.
Is that the
year.
Caps?
The Caps,
okay.
yeah.
I'm just trying to put all the leagues and all the people in the right spots.
Yeah, I think the Southside Flyers. I think they won this year. I can't remember where they're from though. I think they're also Victoria, someplace. Yeah, Southside Victoria maybe.
Yeah.
It's
something around there.
The basketball landscape's interesting in Australia. It's different from like the US, which is the peak of play. Right here we have all these different leagues that Laura was talking about. But in the US, the pipeline's very clear. You play in high school, you go to college, you go to the big leagues. Whereas Australia, you have a lot of Australian players playing in like the WNBA. For example, our star on the UC Capitals, Jade Melbourne, she plays for the Seattle Storm, and then she comes back and plays here. So there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, wow, a lot of plane trips.
Yeah, a lot of plane trips, a lot of sports. So it's different here compared to the US. But yeah, that doesn't mean we still don't follow it. For the NCAA basketball championships have finished. They call it March Madness. Huge tournament, starts with 64 teams, and it's a single elimination. So you just 64 to 32.
Yeah,
to
so you
16.
win or you're out.
You win or you're out.
Yeah. I think it's like the Div 1 teams that probably, with like Caitlin Clark, probably heard that name thrown around a bit.
Oh, I was going to ask about it too. I've heard some really good things about her.
Yeah, so she plays in that American collegiate competition. And so basically it's there's like a bunch of conferences that they're in that's all across America, and then the winners of those competitions get an automatic ticket to the NCAA tournament, which is March Madness. And it's only one game, like it's a one and done game, like how Vincent was talking about before. In the finals there's 5 games. It's just the one game, so like there's major upsets. Like the bracket, it's always hard to predict. There's some other teams that do get like wild card choices, and then obviously today there was the finals for the women's. I haven't been watching the men's league unfortunately, but against Iowa and South Carolina, which was a good game.
Because I did see a Final Four post from Caitlin Clark, so that actually makes sense now. So they had their own March Madness. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's good to see them both having that going on.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because they call it March Madness, but the championship games happen in April. So
they get there eventually.
There is a March there.
They're a bit dramatic, the Americans. They call it a whole month of March, and then they take a couple of weeks of April. Yeah. But yeah, the men's competition's been very fun. Like Laura said, there's a lot of upsets. For example, Kentucky was upset by this team in Oakland because one guy pulled up and he's like unranked. He's not going to the NBA or anything. Kentucky was full of NBA prospects. He pulls up to the game and drops 10 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Well,
and if you watch it, it's not like they were easy. It's just like some nights the heavy underdog is going to get very hot and knock out like a top team. So that's the fun of March Madness. Mind you, the men's game, there's a team from Connecticut, UConn, dominating. They've won by an average of 25 points a game.
Oh, so they're smashing every time.
So, but the women's comp, on the other hand, very interesting.
I would say most of the top teams, there weren't as many upsets as I was kind of hoping for this season. Like all the Final Four and like the Elite Eight, all the teams were like top 5, top 6 really. And like all the number one teams, most of the number one teams made it to the finals. And then like the winner of the finals was South Carolina, and they were undefeated like the whole season. And then I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of going for Iowa a little bit just because like, you know, the whole story about Caitlin Clark and all these crazy threes she's hitting. But Iowa was just, it's just not the game for them, unfortunately. The South Carolina just came through and was just, they were absolute beasts this season. So, yeah.
Yeah, so wait, did you say Caitlin Clark's out of March Madness now?
Yeah.
In the finals. So they lost in the very final game.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
The championship game was this morning, I believe.
Like 5 in the
That's, I was about to say,
morning.
some ridiculous time.
Yeah.
And it's astounding what she's been able to do for basketball and the women's game in general, right? So, for example, her semifinals, they call it the Final Four. She played the women's Connecticut team, UConn, who also has a great player in Paige Beckers, and it was the most watched women's basketball game ever, with 14.2 million viewers. That's more than some. That's more than some World Series games in the US for baseball. That's more than several NBA games. Like, for example, a first-round playoff series last year would get about 2 million views for men's NBA.
Yeah, and they've smashed that by 7.
I believe they outviewed the NBA Finals last year by a lot. So this is huge for the women's game. And Caitlin Clark won that game, of course. But yeah, this game in the finals against South Carolina was just tough.
Oh,
she played all 40 minutes. And they threw everything at her. And at the end of the day, it's a team game, and South Carolina had the better team.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit sad to hear. Like, I was really rooting for her too. I've heard she's got big deals coming her way. I don't really know what it's for, but I know there's big money being thrown around, and it's the first time in women's basketball that this much money's being thrown around.
That's it. That's exactly it. So recently, college athletes in the NCAA, so that's like their college system, were unable to get paid a single dime, right? You were a college athlete, you would get a scholarship to play at a school, and free education, of course. But that meant that you couldn't accept any money until very recently. You'd have examples of like a coach. I think the most one that sticks out is someone's mom died and the coach bought him dinner, and then the kid got his scholarship revoked because he was effectively paid, right? So they've realized
the amount of fists I would have been throwing for that. Oh,
yeah.
So they've realized the error of their ways. Now college athletes get paid for their name, image, and likeness.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, Caitlin Clark, look at her go.
Exactly.
As of late.
Exactly right. So they're earning millions of dollars, far more than they're going to get from their college scholarship. So, yeah, that's been much better for them, actually. Yeah, and she's going to keep getting those when she goes to the WNBA. And hopefully she brings a lot more excitement to that league because it's an amazing basketball league. Amazing. Several Aussies in there as well.
Yeah. Bit biased towards those teams with the Australians on them, though.
Paddy Mills over there still? Is he still kicking?
Yeah, he's still kicking.
Good.
Is he on
He's on the Heat.
Nets? Oh, he's on the Heat.
He's on the Miami Heat.
Okay.
So I know there's a lot of chopping and changing between basketball teams.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that would know where he is at the moment. Because I know he's had a good run. I just know because he's an Australian, so you got to barrack for your own side.
Yeah, no, he's been going good. He almost got strangled by Draymond Green the other week.
Who hasn't, though, to be fair? To be fair, it's the whole league at this point, so...
Oh, the whole league strangling Paddy Mills or getting strangled by Kareem?
Draymond Green just going through and taking some people out. There's a 10-minute highlight video on YouTube that I'd highly recommend of him just absolutely taking people out. Most recently, my favourite one is when he just comes through. There was this, like, scuffle against the Timberwolves, and he just comes through and absolutely headlocks another dude on the other team just for no reason. Like, and then there's like a 10-minute highlight video of this man doing like some MMA moves in like the league, which is kind of sad because he's a great player and he did very good things for the league, I'd say.
Yeah, but you're not alled to headlock someone,
Yeah,
right?
unfortunately not.
Yeah, no, I don't know any sport except for things like MMA and fighting ones that you can headlock people in. So maybe a career change.
Yeah.
You could join the rugby basketball team.
Yeah, I was just about to say rugby basketball might be up his way. So we'll talk a little bit about ANU basketball as a club. And we've actually got the president sitting here. So thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
What?
More of a dictator, unfortunately.
Oh, dictator.
Yeah, he makes us do conditioning all the time at training. Yeah.
Yeah, I wear two hats. I'm a coach and the president. So when I'm a coach, yes, they run.
Yeah.
I mean, conditioning's good for you, but I also hate it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
surely she gets out of conditioning for
I'm
doing the
injured.
podcast.
Yeah. No. Oh, my ankle sore. I saw you shooting. All right. ANU club, the basketball club is really fun. I've had background. I used to be at Uni Melbourne, and then I fled for the greener pastures of Canberra. And the club basketball here is so tight knit and student focused. Like, I've played in clubs that are very, for lack of a better word, stuffy and bureaucratic. If you want to have something that's player focused, like socials and things like that, it has to go through all of these processes. And I was like a social coordinator at the Unimel Basketball Club, and we had great fun, right? We had so many great events. But coming to ANU, it's way more fluid. It's almost exclusively student-led, which just makes for way more fun adventures. I know a
Bit
few
of chaos too, I suppose.
Yeah. But a few weeks ago, all the ball sports, right? So netball, volleyball, even water polo, we all got together and decided to have a bar crawl. And just stuff like that you can do ad hoc because it's a small campus. Everyone knows each other. And it's great. You have a bunch of students walking around in sports kit bumping around all the different pubs.
Yeah. I'm glad you're calling ANU small because I thought it was massive when I went there coming from UC. It's like a mini, it's a suburb all by itself. You got everything there.
Campus is like it's its own little city within itself. Like, once you're on res, obviously I'm from Canberra, but I knew, like, I get to know my friends and they live on res through like the team and such. And then it's just it's a little community. Like, the one person they know at least like 300 different people.
I am that one person.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to know anyone from UC, more likely than not, I know them.
Yeah, it's just it's a lovely community as well. I would say. I think my favorite thing about ANU's, like, the way I got to know everyone is I used to drive everyone to training for, like, when we were in the academy and the NBL1 team and such. And then I went to the uni nationals with them, which is like basically all of the universities in Australia, they get together and they verse each other in different sports. And it's just such a great time. Like, the girls they're so lovely. And that's obviously the reason why I wanted to move over. It just made such a great community of people, and we go, like, when we go away, sure, we play basketball, but most times it's less about the basketball aspect and more like just going out and just having fun with your friends, which I think is just a great thing.
That's what Uni Nationals is about, which I really love. I've heard about the program. I didn't get to go last year because I did my knee playing footy, but
oh no,
that's how it is. So I'd love to go this year potentially if they're lining up again.
It's in Canberra, unfortunately, so we've been trying to organise some things for the club, hopefully, where it'll make it more of that vibe. But obviously, like, it's in Canberra, you go back home to your family or your residency or anything like that. So hopefully some events, just to help get the community together.
It's going to be nice. It's going to
free
be
ACOM. Sounds all right to me.
Exactly. It'll be great fun this year in Canberra. Mind you, not at the sunny shores of Gold Coast like last year. No beach, but we've got Lake Burley Griffin, so we'll have to make do.
I would not swim there if I were you.
No,
either.
Yeah, but uni basketball here is so fun because Canberra is obviously a tight-knit community. And ANU Club, for example, every year there is a Black Mountain battle in all different types of sports. It's between UC and the ANU.
Yeah, because we are big rivals, even though I've got you here in the studio on campus today.
Exactly.
Haha, I win.
Yep,
I had to hide my face when I was walking through campus. I was afraid.
Nah, as long as you're not wearing any ANU paraphernalia, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
We like you sometimes.
hide my ANU hoodie.
Oh, no.
But for example, the UC ANU basketball championship cup is literally a bucket, which is what I love. And there's like plaques on it every year. Mind you, the women won last year, and the boys controversially lost at the end due to a no call.
I would not know this.
But so UC boys have the bucket, but this year it's coming back.
Yeah,
all right.
the bucket back.
Yeah.
Important, yeah.
So is it just the basketball?
No, all sorts of sports.
All the sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the basketball championship is a bucket.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, righto, yeah.
yeah.
So I had to say we verse ANU randomly on the hockey field,
Mm.
but I haven't heard this bucket going around. I might have to get my own like Bunnings bucket. And start putting plaques on it.
It's just great fun overall. University basketball here in the territory, because I've been in other states, and it's a fun vibe, and it's like Laura said, you get to play the sport you like with the people that you hopefully like as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I'd have to say about it. But to any ANU students contemplating, do sign up.
Yeah, join please.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have the best merch as well.
We're
merch.
getting some new tearaway pants. We always tease a bit on our story.
Tearaway?
Tearaway, like you just rip them straight off.
Right.
Yeah, with some Velcros on the side. So they're looking pretty good, shaping up at the moment.
Much anticipated, those sweatpants.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to get a pair of tearaway.
Yeah.
Tearaway.
Limited edition. Get in while they hot.
There you go. Might have to chuck the link up for your gear, Nilly, after tearaway.
Exactly,
I'm
yeah.
all for that. Going to talk a little bit about WNBL and WNBA, the NBL being the Australian version and the NBA being the American version. So which one do you want to tackle first?
Probably the WNBA. Probably just like talking a bit off like Caitlin Clark, because a lot of the players that are in the collegiate system have declared for the draft, this year. And the draft is so good this year.
You say declared for the draft?
You have to declare for the draft before, like, you can't. Some players just like don't declare at all, which is probably a bit not pretty common. But
what does it mean to do that? Like, are you declaring your loyalty to a club, or is that just saying, I'm rocking up, pick me?
Well, what happens is you finish your collegiate career, or you can end it early. Most women tend to do the whole 4 years. Men, it's more common to be what they call one and done. So you do your freshman year and then you go to the NBA.
Yeah, righto.
And they declare for the draft, which is them saying, I'm out of college and I'm going to go to the NBA draft, right? And now there's a limited number of picks in the draft, and there's usually more people who declare than picks. So it's a bit risky. Now, if you're Caitlin Clark, you're getting picked.
Yeah,
so
you're
going
fine.
number one
You're
overall.
going number one. But
Yeah.
especially for those middle to lower ranked prospects, it can shoot them in the foot sometimes. Now, there's been changes. There's like a transfer portal now for athletes to sort of put their feet in both camps of see if I got into the draft.
I was about
and
to
if
say,
not,
can you
go
declare
back.
and then
But
backtrack to college?
In the past, it's been brutal. That you declare and you don't get drafted. But you can still get into the leagues without being drafted. But yeah, the WNBA is an interesting league. It's been around about 30 years.
Yeah, we're still in our Celtics era with Bill Russell and all that stuff.
If you're comparing it to the NBA. And it's a very competitive league. They play fewer games than the NBA.
Less teams as well.
Yeah.
Like the NBA has many teams, and like the way the whole league is structured, I think it's probably they're similar, but there's like some differences. Like say with the rookie candidates, which are people who come through who've just been drafted. Like in the NBA, they have training camp for like months and months, and they let them like play in some games and such. But with the WNBA, it's a lot shorter time period, so you have to like prove yourself really early. So I find like a lot of rookies coming in, they just like get left behind after like, it's so hard, I think, to stay in the league within the women's one, because like you have to do so well from like an early age, like when you first enter. And then even then, like if you kind of like fade out, then just new people coming through all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's just really competitive.
Yeah, so it's a competitive league, definitely. But it's probably the highest level of competition. And the reason the rookies get such a short leash compared to the NBA is the season is 40 regular season games for the women's, and the men play 82 regular season games.
Yeah.
And that's before any playoffs. Right? So
Okay.
you play your regular season, you see where you end up.
That
And
seems
then-
like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the mathematician, SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But that seems like a lot.
You'll have games where it's like 9 games in 11 days and just stuff like that, or it's just terrible, right?
Yeah.
So for the pro game, especially for collegiate athletes who play they play roughly 40 regular season games, but their season, I believe, is slightly longer, and it's just it's more intense, and it's a transition for the rookies. But yeah, the WNBA is great fun. Less viewership than the college game, I would say.
And then like with the finals, the playoffs are obviously shorter. So like the women, I think, are only 5-game finals, where the men go all the way to like 7, and then like the first round, I think like maybe 1-3 games. So like the men, they get to like all 7 games, basically the entire series against more teams, and the women they're only playing like 3-5 games even in the finals. So obviously it's a bit different.
Yeah, no, but it's an interesting league. Last year, the Las Vegas Aces won, and they beat the New York Liberty. I was going for the Liberty, but can't win every time.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Aces are pretty good. They've had a bunch of number 1 draft picks in their team. Like they got like Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young. They even have an Australian Kayla George in that team. She doesn't get as many minutes of as the other guys, but she plays in our Australian team, and I've seen her like play for like such a long time. She's great.
So for the draft, they like rank them nearly, and then teams pick them. I'm guessing that's how they. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm on the right page.
Yeah, but it might not be like the best player going first. Like it depends, obviously, what like the team wants and needs. Obviously, if you're a Caitlin Clark, like a generational talent, you're going to get taken first no matter what. But say if you're like a pretty solid big, but like all the top 10 teams need guards, you're not going to be picked till like 11th. So
Yeah. Righto. It just depends on where your position's at. We've come to a bit of the show where we talk about the weird and wacky. We got rugby basketball on today. I have seen a couple of videos in my research of this. They were all wearing wrestling gear.
Yeah.
For starters. It's not really rugby tackling. It's more just belting people.
Yeah. I think it's a mix of 3 sports. It's actually, I'm pretty sure there's a league that was formed. It's a Russian sport. It was formed in like 1999, and I think they call it regball, but a lot of other places call it rugball. And it's like a mix of rugby, basketball, and wrestling, obviously. Hence the wrestling outfits. Because they're not doing rugby tackles, obviously. If you've seen some videos, they are like coming through with these like MMA chokeholds. Like I said, Draymond Green should get in this league. But it's like so you don't have to dribble. There's obviously some like different rules. It's obviously the court. But they call it a field in the rugby book, which is a bit interesting. I'm pretty sure it's a court. But like obviously it's the normal the court that we would play with. And then obviously they have their wrestling outfits, and then you don't have to dribble. There's no fouls. Obviously there's some like illegal moves, but there's no free throws or anything because there's no fouls and stuff. But like I'm pretty sure like that an MMA fighter, Khabib, you know, the one that beat Conor McGregor, this man casually plays it in like the off season as like training. Like imagine showing up to your like local gym and this MMA fighter is just putting you in like some submissive hold on like it just wanted a fun game of rugby basketball, and this man has just showed up. Like I would be, that'd be stressful.
I just couldn't imagine trying to shoot a ball and have someone like trying to put me on the ground, and not only it not being grass. Like grass is still hard to hit sometimes, but it's not as hard as like wood floor. It'd be like nearly what your siblings played. Like it feels very much like a sibling sport.
I mean, they don't even have the wrestling mats. Like it's just the floor. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. I'd be broken. I'd have one shot and that'd be me, and I wouldn't even get it in. Like it's just die.
Yeah. I mean, being shoved out of the air. Like I'd be so afraid to go for that. Like I'm so injury prone. I would be like immediately injured and out of the league. Like I don't know who this is for. This is the most Russian sport I've ever seen. Like they're just coming there to absolutely take some people out. I don't even think like the score's not even that high. Like the finals, I'm pretty sure I watched the video. The final score was 4-8.
Oh.
Like they are not scoring points.
It's a rugby score.
Yeah.
It works out in points wise for me
less
anyway.
than a rugby score.
Oh
Like,
my god. Yeah, no, it seems like a very intense sport. Probably if you have some anger issues, I think
yeah.
it'd be great for you.
Would you be playing Vincent?
Oh no, I have other outlets.
I think that might be the question of the day, nearly, is who would be the worst person to come up against in rugby basketball?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh my lord.
I don't know. Giannis seems like he would just absolutely tear everyone up.
Yeah.
I mean, Shaquille in his prime probably would be pretty good, but like Giannis is just, he's a fast mover and he's pretty strong.
Yeah, no, there's some WNBA players I'd not want to square up with.
Brittany Griner, that one.
Griner,
she was the one that was like in Russia in the prison for like a couple years for like getting weed at the border. Like she was going to go on a plane, they found weed in her bag, and she was going to get like life in prison.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
She was exchanged in a prisoner deal, but yeah, she'd probably be great at rugby basketball.
Yeah.
She's also excellent.
Hence she was in Russia as well.
Checks
So
out. Like, probably learn a thing or two.
Yeah.
And she's excellent at basketball, so that helps as well.
Yeah, and she's tall as and just muscles, man. Yep. You know,
I think that's our question for the day then. At ontherighttrack.podcast on Instagram. Tell us who would be the worst person to come across in rugby basketball. Would be great if people responded to those questions that I throw out. Haven't got one yet, but we'll get there. I think we've come to the end of the show. I'd like to thank Laura and Vincent for joining me here in the studio. Hope you've had a wonderful time, guys.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Have you back anytime. You guys were fun. I'd like to thank everyone who was listening online on the UCFM radio station or on your cars when you're close enough, because you still can get it around the joint. And anyone who's listening to the podcast version on Spotify or also on the website. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you guys next time.